All right, the average American has 12 jobs throughout their lifetime. In fact, according to recent surveys, roughly 65% of the U.S. workforce is actively searching for a new job at any given time. Imagine leaving behind money every time you change employers. In today's sponsored segment from Safe Harbor Retirement, President Cory Sickles explaining the importance of the 401K rollover. It is so good to see you again, Cory.
Glad to be here, Robin.
All right, we've talked about 401K rollovers before, but how often does it happen, right, that a person gets a new job and then they kind of forget about that money and don't roll it over?
I think it happens quite a bit. I think the most that I've ever actually rolled over is about 8 401Ks for a new client.
Okay.
And one of the things that you want to do is you want to take control of it. If you possibly can. You don't want to leave a 401K behind when you potentially leave an employer. You lose track of it.
Right.
I see that more than anything, and you stop getting statements. You stop communication with the company. So it's something that I think that you really should take control of.
And when you do that, when you take control, do you just roll it over into one normal, 401K account? Is that a good time to look into the other options like a Roth, which we often talk about?
Well, I think one of the things you really need to look at is you want to roll it over into what we call an IRA. You can roll it, in some cases you can roll it over to your current employer if you want to do, your new employer if you want to do that. But the problem with that is a lot of times you're limited on what you can actually invest into. Most companies probably have 10 or 15 particular mutual funds that you can invest into. By rolling it over into your own IRA, you take control of it, which means you can invest in any particular stock, ETF, or maybe even want to invest it into an annuity. So that's something that you definitely can do.
And I know that, a lot of times people can want to withdraw their money. They see this kind of big chunk, right? So say they're sitting down with you and they say, oh, I've got all these 8 401Ks. But is that a good time to say, oh, I'll just take this money? There's going to be probably fees associated with that, huh?
There's fees associated with it. And a big topic or a big concern with that is how old you are. If you're under the age of 59 and a half, and if you don't take it out the right way, there's, the IRS has a few limitations on, you want to talk with a CPA before you do take the withdrawal out, but you're going to have a 10% penalty on top of the tax that you have to pay. And more importantly, you're taking money out of your potential retirement as well, so you're going to lose all that growth over that time as, growth until you do retire.
And what about for those whose employers don't offer a 401K, Cory? What kind of options do they have?
Well, really what most people should look at is setting up a traditional IRA. You're limited, depending on your age, anywhere from $6,000 to $7,000 per year. Or you can also open up a Roth IRA too. Again, you're limited to that $6,000 to $7,000 a year, depending on whether you're over 50 or not. And of course, on the Roth IRA, you might have some limitations based upon the income that you make. Really the best thing to do if you don't have a 401K is, sit down with an advisor, give us a call. We can kind of go over some of those options with you.
And I often think about when you put your money into a 401K with work, there's kind of these targeted goal funds that you just go into, right? Hey, I want to retire it this year. Here's where I'm going to be. How often do you have to pay attention to that, Cory? Is that something that you can change where things are allocated in, or you just kind of put it in there and forget it?
Well, I think in most cases, this year is a great time to just put it in and forget about it, right?
Yeah, sure.
With the market, with the volatility we're having in the market. But more than anything, you should probably, pick whatever investment, and hopefully it's going to be kind of based upon your risk tolerance. But if your goal is to retire in 2030 or 2040 or 2050, those target date funds are good because as you kind of get closer to those ages, your risk tolerance automatically goes down.
Okay, smart. All right, so if somebody wants to see these, documents, or if they think, oh, I don't know if I have a 401K that I've left behind, because I feel like that's probably more often the case, right? Maybe I had 3 jobs ago a 401K that I just lost track of, like you said.
Right.
How do they look into that, and what kind of things do they need to do to find out if there's lost money?
Well, one of the things they can always do is probably call their HR department.
Okay.
At the previous employer to see if they do have a 401K. And another good source too is the Social Security Administration. A lot of times they actually have a list of all of the places that you've worked, and sometimes you'd be surprised when people didn't know they had pensions that are actually there too. So that's probably a good source to do that. And then go back through tax statements, which is really another good one, because a lot of times you might have those documents in there as well.
Yeah, definitely don't leave money on the table. That is sound advice at any time. So, all right, Cory, Safe Harbor Retirement. You can, of course, use the information on the screen to contact Cory. Complimentary consultations at any time as well. So don't hesitate to meet with him and a member of his team today. Cory, thank you.
Thank you, Robin.